Hello everyone. An estimated 8 million children do not currently attend school in India, many as a result of poverty. But now, every child can demand free and compulsory education between the age of 6 and 14 years. Yes, it has become possible. Kudos to the Indian government, which has launched a landmark law which makes education a fundamental right for children. Under the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act, no schools, yes, schools can no longer conduct selection scrutiny in admitting the students. Violence is punishable, physical violence is punishable, and the law makes 25% reservation for underprivileged students in all the schools. Is this just a hype, or the government is serious about it? What are the ramifications and the far-reaching effects of this law? Let's find out the answers of all these questions from our distinguished guest, Professor Dilip Borua. He is the former principal of Cotton College, and Dr. Shubrata Sharma Bhattacharya. She is the head of the department, Zoology, Cotton College, and she is also the president of University Women's Graduates Association, Assam. Now, Professor Borua, we would like to know from you. Both of you are welcome first. And Professor Borua, we would like to know from you, what's the law is about? Please enlighten us on the law, right to education.
Thank you. India is an independent country. But strictly speaking, India's independence is not yet complete. Complete independence will mean the attainment of social justice.
Okay.
Social justice can be attained only when all the people, particularly the children, enjoy the right to education. Because it is education that opens up the door to opportunities in life. And so education is a merit good. It touches the lives of so many people. And within education, it is basically primary education, which is at the top in the merit list. Because it touches a larger number of people at the primary level. Secondly, unless primary education is quality education and is broad-based, the superstructure, which is secondary education and higher education, will not be strong.
Okay, and now the government has passed this Right to Education Act.
Right.
Okay, so many people want to know what it is about. Why so much hue and cry over this law? Why we are having a victory feeling? What is this about? Whom it is targeting?
It's targeting the young Indians, 16 to 14 years of age.
6 to 14 years
Yeah,
of age.
6 to 14 years of age at the elementary level of education. Now, if these people do not enjoy the right to education, they will be out of the mainstream.
Right.
In due course.
And we would like to know what the law is about.
Yeah. The
What it contains.
law says, as you have already pointed out,
Right.
that it is free and compulsory education for these young children.
Between the age of 6 and 14 years.
Between the age of 6 and 14. That these children will have educational opportunities, that is, the opportunity to study in a primary school, which will be within 1 kilometer area of their habitation. That there will be no test as such till the end of class 8, which will be the terminal year of elementary education. That the syllabi will be compiled, will be prepared at the national level. Dropout students will be trained up so that they can join the stream. There will be teachers training because there will be new syllabus, new curriculum. And most of the teachers at the primary level are untrained. With untrained teachers, you cannot have quality primary education.
Right.
So that is one. As far as the funding pattern goes, 65% will come from the central government,
Okay.
35% from the state government. There will be reservation,
Okay.
25% reservation of the children who are from the economically and socially disadvantaged classes of people
Okay.
in the private schools.
Okay.
It will be 25% reservation for them. There will be no corporeal punishment.
Okay.
Teachers will not be allowed to go in for private tuition.
Okay. Private tuition is banned.
Yeah. These are some of the important features.
Okay.
And this
Teachers,
is,
by teachers you are meaning only the government teachers, or even the private teachers are not allowed?
the law is binding on all the government run institutions.
Okay.
In the private school, it is only 25% reservation. So it is difficult to say whether 25% of the teachers will not be allowed to go in for private tuition.
Okay.
So the law is has nothing to say on that as far as the private schools are concerned. And and let us also not forget that India is not the first country to go for this sort of an act. There are already 135 countries in the world. Where
Okay, and now India has become the
joined
member of this
the
elite
That's right.
council. Okay, Professor Dr. Bhattacharya, it's your turn now. But before saying this, I want to say what Kapil Sibal said. In the words of Kapil Sibal, he said, right to education is a tool to make India a knowledge hub. Even our Honorable Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has said in an address to nation, I'm quoting his words, that I want every child to be touched by the light. That is right to education, unquote. So much is being said about this law, right to education. So ma'am, do you think it's going to work? And my question is, will this law, that is right to education, would be successful in providing the quality education to all?
To your answer, to your question, I must say that definitely it is going to do something for the small children who are unprivileged. And because now you see, in 1947 itself, we got independence. But till now, many children, they are very much unprivileged. They have not got the education, proper education also. So they are bringing many law, this act has come and it will help. And no doubt, this Sarva Shiksha Abhijan, they have started. That will also, that is doing many things. And many children, they are now going to, they have become very cautious also. So definitely it is going to work.
Okay, so what is your take on it? What do you have to say? Will this law, that is right to education, if we implement it, because it has been passed, okay, we are going hoo-ha about this. So do you think it is going to work and be successful?
in matters like these, there may be certain initial hiccups.
Okay.
These are natural. But as time rolls on, I think these will go. And I don't think in the long run it will be unattainable. Initially, there may be difficulties, and we'll learn from experience, definitely. And this is not only about children who are in this age group, 6 to 14, it's also meant for differently abled children who can be even beyond 14 years of age. It is so very comprehensive.
Yes,
And
because
since it involves so many people,
I want to say
Yeah.
that this question has become more important. Why I'm asking this question? Because right now the law has been implemented, just implemented, okay, and proper mechanism is there or not, people want to know, and because many states are going to implement it very soon, and some states like Orissa, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram has already declared and decided to implement this law. So it's become very important. So how do you think, how can the government ensure that this law filters down and reach all the people, especially the underprivileged?
look, there is no automaticity.
Yes.
It's not like pressing the button and you get light. It takes time.
Yes.
Particularly in a country like India, where we have so much of diversities and the degrees of development or degrees of
Right.
underdevelopment. But I think the direction is right,
Okay.
and whether it's implementable it is attainable. A lot of that will depend on the management. And this act provides that there will be a school management committee. In that committee, 3/4 of the members will be guardians.
Okay.
And then other people, 50% will be women members. Now, what happens is, very often we find that these three groups, the students, the teachers and the guardians, they do not come together. You know, they move in three different directions. Now, when we have such a provision where we have a school management committee, all these three parties will come together and there will be feedback from one another.
Right.
And there will be auditing, in fact, academic auditing, inspection in the real sense of the term, monitoring, evaluation of the whole scheme. And I think that will keep the three parties on their toes.
Okay.
Nobody can be complacent.
Okay, so you want to say that it might take a time, there would be a little bit of hiccups, but ultimately it gonna work.
Yeah, it is going to work.
Okay, and because it's too early to comment also. Yeah. Okay, now we always say that education is a powerful tool by which economically weak and socially deprived people can lift up themselves out of poverty and can participate as a true citizen. So in this context, and because we know that the law has made it possible for us, 25% reservation is there for the private schools, whether it is aided or non-aided. It sounds amazing, okay, and it's an excellent idea on the first thought, but there are many private schools who are protesting against this act, and they are crying injustice. So do you think, ma'am, is it going to work? Because so many private schools are unhappy. Why they are unhappy? What is there in the law which is making them unhappy?
As this act has already come.
Right.
So definitely the private schools, they will also be forced to do accordingly. Otherwise, they will also be seen by the public also about their that they are not going to do these things or that they cannot do on their own because this is the act. And so they will also be doing, and I think this will rather empower the schools and the unprivileged and also the other ones, they will be benefited by this act.
So your take on it? Why they are very unhappy about this law?
I think one important reason why they are unhappy, why some of these institutions have even approached the courts.
Yeah, even they have approached the courts, yeah.
Is, I believe, the fact that if there is 25% reservation, they will be losing some revenue.
Yes, exactly that is
and it is the revenue that they collect in the form of fees from where they pay the salaries.
Okay, as you said in the beginning, the law has prohibited them from taking the tuition fees, right, from the underprivileged. So that's the reason you want to say that?
I mean, loss of revenue. But I think there is a solution to that.
Okay.
Two solutions, in fact. One, there may be, let's see how the debate goes about 25% reservation.
Okay.
And on the basis of that, there may be some provision later on. That apart, the privately run institutions can go in for some sort of a cross-subsidization. What I mean by that is that if it is 25% education which is free, 75% is not, let the fee structure of the 75 be raised to make up the loss because of the 25% reservation.
And that will help the private institutions also.
Don't you think, sir, that if the 75% that thing is raised, the tuition fees, the other people who are not coming for education as a reserved, why don't they protest about this thing? Because now they are protesting because of this 25% reservation. Then that so-called middle class people who are getting education not for free, they are going to protest about it?
There are educational institutions in the private sector which charge a very high amount of fees.
Truly.
And there are guardians, there are parents who can afford to pay that. They can afford to pay a little more, that's all.
Okay.
And allow others to get the opportunity.
Okay. At the end of the day, what matters is the good intention. Intention with the government, which the government has shown. that education should become a fundamental right. Okay, and as we always know that education is a fundamental right, and it only can become meaningful right when it becomes acceptable, accessible, adaptable, and available to everyone. And the 4 A's I'm talking about, the 4 A's framework was introduced and developed by the special UN rapporteur, Katerina Tomasewski. So ma'am, what do you think this law will involve the parents? Sir has said, he has talked about the parents also. So what kind of role parents can play? The law talks about this thing and how they can make this law possible and successful and should follow the 4 A's to the T.
The parents, they can help the children to go to school first of all. And when they go, they will be learning something. And you're talking about the parents who are economically weak. Yes, I'm speaking first about them.
Instead of putting the children to labor to work,
they will
let them go to school. Okay.
They will let them go to school. So they will be learning something. And when they come back, they will also be telling about many things about the schools and all. So on the other hand, it will help the parents also to learn something. Suppose many parents, and particularly in the unprivileged ones, the parents, they are also not very much educated. So in that way, they can give some informations to the parents also, and they will also be asking the student, their children, to learn something, and in that way, there may be vice versa. These children can help the parents also to learn something, and in that way, parents have got very much, rather a very big role to play.
Okay. So, as this UN Special Rapporteur, Katerina Tomasewski, has developed this 4 A's, that is, education should be acceptable to all. It should be acceptable by all the religion, communities, race. It should be accessible to all the children, irrespective from where they are coming from which economic background they are coming from. It should be accessible to them. It should be adaptable with the needs of the time. And it should definitely does not follow any biasness. So, sir, what do you think? Is this law will make this thing 4 A's will be followed to the T?
You talk about 4 A's, I think there is a 5th A as well.
Okay.
Affordable.
Affordable.
Education should be affordable. If it is free, obviously it will be affordable. And you have talked about how the parents will be involved. If I can come back to that a little.
Yeah, definitely. I want to take your inputs on this. How, as you said about this SCMS, right? So how this law is actually bringing together the parents.
Yeah, it's very clear. The law is very clear. The law says that, among other things, that the school will have a calendar. Okay. Okay, a calendar of events. And one of the events will be regular guardian-teacher meeting. I think that is very important.
And has the law clarified on what basis and how many times there would be this meeting?
No, not that the number is not mentioned.
Okay.
But the point is that there must be regular teacher-students meeting, guardians meeting, parents meeting. And a question may be asked, these children are from poor families. Maybe the parents are uneducated. Now, what will they do in the meeting? Now, let us not forget that this act also states that as far as possible, the medium of instruction at this level should be the mother tongue.
Okay, so the law is not depriving the mother tongue also, it wants to encourage the mother tongue.
So these people can
especially for the elementary education you want to say.
It is for elementary.
It is for elementary.
And these people can come, the guardians uneducated. I won't say uneducated, I'll say illiterate. I think there's a difference between illiteracy and education. Yes. The guardian may be, the parent may be illiterate, but may be educated, maybe having values and, other things in life. So they can come and talk freely with the school authorities. There's no problem, there's no harm. Only thing is, a proper time must be, found out, because these people are very hardworking. Maybe someone is a daily laborer. I'm talking about the marginalized people, all right? A daily laborer, he may not find time to come to the school and attend the meeting. Now, according to his convenience, you know, convenience of people like him, let the timing be fixed. So they can come and talk, or talk even without being in a formal meeting, talk to the authorities about his own child, okay? So parents will be involved, guardians will be involved.
And this kind of
also
meeting,
from the feedbacks,
yes, ma'am,
this authority, they can be very much benefited also, and they can have some more plans and programs to implement.
And this
to
kind
do
of meeting,
something
sir,
good
this
for the
kind of
children.
meeting is not only for the government schools, but the private school also have to follow this.
Wherever this act will apply,
Okay.
yeah, it will be, it will not be discriminatory. It's meant for all. And a lot will depend also on the other stakeholders, say the panchayat.
Okay.
See, under the 73rd, because of the 73rd Amendment to the Constitution of India, we have the 11th schedule to the Indian Constitution. In the 11th schedule, there are 29 subjects which are transferred from the state to the panchayat Raj institutions. One of these 29 subjects is subject number 17, that is primary education. So what is the panchayat going to do? The panchayat functionaries, their role will also be important. Okay. So there will be a sort of a exchange of views among so many stakeholders, the guardians, the parents, the school authorities, the panchayat members, and so on, the women representatives. And so I think all these will go a long way in raising the quality of education, you know, restoring accountability in the educational institutions.
So this kind of meeting you want to say is
people
actually,
people like say Omoto-san,
right.
you know, they point out that what we have in the schools, I mean the rural areas in India, is they're all second track schools. You know, somebody is a teacher, she doesn't come to teach. He or she sends somebody else to teach in the primary schools. These are second track schools. So let these be converted into first track. And this act aims exactly at that.
Okay, the meeting as you are talking about, it actually makes parents, teachers, and even the institution accountable.
Sure.
Right. And I think we require much of out-of-the-box thinking, because rural areas need more schools. And this 25% reservation would be more fruitful if the schools are there. It is accessible, sir. As you said, it should be affordable. So, ma'am, what do you have to say on this? Do you think, I should add one more question, do you think that this act would be, this law would be successful in eliminating illiteracy in the long run?
If not fully, but I think that it will help a lot, because from the elementary, as sir has already told, and this is also included in the panchayats. In the panchayats also they are having some meetings and all. So definitely who makes the panchayat? The illiterate person and also others, all the villagers. So they are having some meetings, etc. So definitely they are going to say something about all these things. So in that way, the panchayats as well as the guardians, they are, so definitely it is going to work, I think.
Ma'am is very, very optimistic about this.
I am very much optimistic about
sir,
this.
what do you say? How do you look into this thing?
Well, I have only this to add, that the children will not be helped in any way if we have a mushrooming of primary schools. Okay, so the act says that certain conditions are to be fulfilled before a school is given recognition.
Okay.
Okay, if the school fails to satisfy those conditions, it will not be recognized, and it will be penalized if it runs after that.
Can you just explain what kind of condition it has led actually?
Like teachers training.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
And also these are hygienic things and
all those
Sanitation.
infrastructural,
infrastructures.
All those facilities are given as specified, curriculum as specified. All if these are all fulfilled, then the school will be recognized.
That is, a registered school has to follow these guidelines, otherwise the registration would be revoked.
It has to. Otherwise, anybody can open any school. That will not do. You know, and if it continues even after that, suppose it is denied recognition and still it continues, it will have to pay a fine of 1 lakh rupees.
Okay.
You see, and even after that it continues, every day it will have to pay something like 10,000 or 25,000 rupees daily. So I think it will help in raising the quality of education.
Okay, sir. There are so many questions on, because there are skeptics also, because the law has been passed. Okay, it's a landmark law. Okay, 3 cheers for the government, which has taken a bold step. But the questions are, people want to know, is there any mechanism to identify the economically weak and socially deprived people? People want to know, is there any monitoring body which will monitor and oversee the implementation of this law, sir? Very briefly.
There is. There is the provision to issue certificates to students who belong to low-income groups or low-income brackets.
Okay.
Only thing is, it should be properly applied. Okay, but there is a provision to identify these people, economically disadvantaged classes of people.
Okay, but clarity is needed.
More than clarity, proper implementation.
And also the transparency.
Transparency, yeah.
Transparency should be there.
Okay, so only because we are over the time limit, I have to conclude the discussion here. We are sitting here and feeling privileged, feeling fortunate that we are living in this decade, in this century where we have seen the light, that is right to education. There are clarity is required in many aspects of this law. But thanks and congratulations to the Indian government for taking this bold step, and we are feeling really very fortunate. And always, as we say, education is a tool which will actually develop the underprivileged people and socially weak people. Better late than never. Thank you very much, experts, and thank you our viewers who are watching our program. And we really hope this Education Act, this Right to Education Act, will redefine history.